Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. J. Jaishankar's lecture series in Commerce, episode 8. The topic for today's discussion is accounting concepts and conventions. What is accounting? It is the process of recording, classifying, and summarizing in a significant manner transactions and events which are of a financial character. So, in accounting, all the transactions of a business which are of financial nature will be recorded. Where? In the journal. A journal is a summary of all business transactions recorded in the chronological order, that is, date wise. How are the transactions recorded in the journal? We follow what is called the double entry system of accounting, where two aspects of every transaction are recorded. One is the debit aspect, the other one is the credit aspect, the incoming aspect as well as the outgoing aspect. So, if machinery worth rupees 50,000 is purchased for cash, machinery comes into the business, cash goes out of the business, both are recorded in the books of accounts. The accounts of a business are broadly classified into three categories: personal account, real account, and nominal account. Accounts of individuals and institutions will belong to the personal account category. Examples: the proprietor's capital account, bank account, debtors account, creditors account can be shown as examples of accounts which are personal account in nature. The various assets of the business will belong to the real account category: cash, furniture, land, building, plant, machinery, goodwill, which is an intangible asset. So all these assets will belong to the real account category. All expenses, losses, incomes and gains of the business will belong to the nominal account category. For each of these accounts, we have a rule which will have to be followed by the accountants while recording the transactions in the books of accounts. The rule for personal account is debit the receiver and credit the giver. The rule for real account is debit what comes in and credit what goes out. The rule for nominal account is debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. Following these rules, the accountants will record all the transactions in the books of accounts. Now, recording of transactions is the starting point of, or the first stage of, the accounting cycle. The second stage is the preparation of the ledger accounts. The ledger accounts will have to be identified first. So, if machinery worth rupees 50,000 is purchased for cash, there are two accounts which are involved here. One is the machinery account, the other one is the cash account. So, like this, the accountant shall identify the important accounts in every journal entry he makes. So, these various ledger accounts will have to be opened next, and posting will have to be done from the journal to the ledger. And at the end of the financial year, just before the accounts are closed, the accountant shall balance each and every ledger account. There will be some closing balance left in every ledger account. These closing balances will have to be taken to the trial balance, and preparation of trial balance is the third stage of the accounting cycle. Trial balance is a list of all ledger balances. It will have debit balances as well as credit balances, and the total of both must be equal always. If they are not equal, it indicates that certain errors exist in the accounting records. So the accountants shall locate those errors and then rectify them. And the final stage of the accounting cycle is the preparation of final accounts. Final accounts consist of the trading account, the profit and loss account, and the balance sheet. The trading account will disclose the gross profit or loss made by the business during a particular year. The profit and loss account will reveal the net profit or loss, and the balance sheet of the business will reveal the financial position of the business on a particular date. Now we are coming to the most important part of our discussion, accounting concepts and conventions. We will discuss first the important accounting concepts. The first one is the entity concept. According to the entity concept, all the transactions of a business shall be recorded only from the point of view of the business. For example, if the proprietor contributes a capital of rupees 10 lakhs and the amount is deposited in bank, the accountant will pass the entry bank account debtor to proprietor's capital account. Bank account will appear on the asset side of the balance sheet and proprietor's capital account will appear on the liability side of the balance sheet. So the proprietor's capital is seen only as the liability of the business. The reason is that the entity concept says that all transactions will have to be recorded only from the business angle, not from the proprietor's angle. So seeing from the business angle, the capital contributed by the proprietor is only a liability. The second one is the dual aspect concept. We have seen already that in every transaction two aspects are recorded. One is the debit aspect and the other one is credit aspect. So if furniture is purchased for cash, furniture account is recorded, cash account also is recorded. The third one is going concern concept. In accounting, we make the assumption that the business will have an indefinite life. The business may have an asset, the life of which may be just 5 years, and after the 5th year, the asset will have to be replaced. The reason is the business has an indefinite life. So as long as the business exists, these assets, various assets are required for the business operation. So the going concern concept says that the business will have an indefinite life. So until it is dissolved, it is wound up, the business will continue to exist. The next one is the accounting period concept. The results of the operation of the business will have to be known at an appropriate time. A period of 1 year is considered the right time for the business to know its results. Even under the Companies Act, the accounts will have to be prepared once in 12 months and submitted in the annual general meeting of the shareholders. Although it is true that the actual position will be known only when the business is wound up, since we assume that the business has an indefinite life, at regular intervals, the accounting statements will have to be prepared. And what is that duration of the preparation of accounts? Once in a year, once in 12 months. The next one is the money measurement concept. So in accounting, we show only those items which can be expressed in monetary terms, in money terms. We are not interested in all those items that cannot be quantified. For example, the skill of a worker is important for the business. Since you cannot quantify it, express it in monetary terms, we don't show it in the books of accounts. The health of the manager of the firm is also important for the business, but we don't show it anywhere in the books of accounts. The next one is the cost concept. All fixed assets are shown only at the price at which they are acquired, not at the market price. So if a piece of land is purchased this year for rupees 10 lakhs, even after 5 years, even after 10 years, its value will be shown only at rupees 10 lakhs. Although after 10 years, its value may be 50 lakhs. But we follow the cost concept only. So all fixed assets of the business are recorded and shown only at the cost price always. The next one is the revenue recognition concept. The main revenue of any business is the revenue from sale. And sale has two components, cash sale and credit sale. As far as cash sale is concerned, payment has already been received. But what about credit sale? The case of credit sale, the transaction has been done, goods have been delivered, but payment has not been received. But still, credit sale will be part of this year's revenue. The revenue from credit sale will be part of this year's revenue. That is how the transactions are recorded, following the revenue recognition concept. Then, of course, the next one is the matching concept. Periodically, the cost will be matched with the revenue. So, in the trading account, sales will be shown on the credit side, all the direct expenses will be recorded on the debit side. So, the credit side is compared with the debit side, and if credit side total is more than the debit side total, the business makes a profit. Otherwise, it will make a loss. Then, accrual concept. Any cost or revenue will be recorded based on whether it has accrued for the current year or not. For example, salary payable to the employees, even though it has not been paid, will have to be recorded, will have to be shown as expenditure for the current year only, because it is due, although it has not been paid. Similarly, if the business has to get interest on investments, which is due, although it has not been received in cash, it has to be recorded and shown as income for the current year only. The reason is we follow the accrual concept. Then the next one is the objectivity concept. All the transactions shall be supported by documentary evidence. So the accountant shall not record any transaction in the account books based on assumptions and presumptions. So vouchers are required, invoices are required. That is what the objectivity concept says. Then, having seen all the accounting concepts, let us now move on to discuss the important accounting conventions, the practices. The first one is the convention of disclosure. Every material fact which is important from the viewpoint of the outsider of the business will have to be shown in the books of accounts. So what should be seen is the preference of the prospective investor. A person who wants to buy the shares of a company will be more interested in knowing certain details. To give you an example, in the case of sundry debtors, the accountant shall clearly state as to how much of the sundry debtors is good, how much of it is doubtful, and how much is bad, because an outsider may be interested in this information. Then, the convention of materiality. In certain cases, the accountant may use his discretion and give the accounting treatment. For example, if a calculator is purchased for the office, it may be recorded as stationery expenses in the books of accounts. Although the calculator is an asset and its benefit will be available to the office over the next 10 or 15 years. In certain cases where the value of the transaction is very small, the accountant may use his discretion and show it in the books of accounts. Then the convention of consistency. So consistency means once a certain method or practice is adopted, it should continue to be adopted year after year. We can give depreciation as an example, the method of providing depreciation. Basically, you have the straight line method and the written down value method of depreciation. So, if in the first year written down value method is adopted, it is better to continue to use the same method year after year. Only then there will be consistency. So, if you use written down value method in the first year, then switch over to straight line method in the second year, there will not be consistency. Then finally, the convention of conservatism. Conservatism is the policy of playing safe. It takes into account all prospective losses but ignores all prospective gains. So, uh, provision for doubtful debts may be cited as an example. We make provision for bad debts, doubtful debts. Similarly, inventory or stock is shown at cost price or market price, whichever is less. These are all examples to show that the, the convention of conservatism, the policy of playing safe, is always adopted by accountants. So I think in the available time, we have seen the important accounting concepts and conventions. I am sure you would have found the presentation more interesting and also useful. Please do share your feedback. We'll again meet. This is Dr. J. Jaishankar signing off.